Building a brand from scratch can feel extremely overwhelming, especially when transitioning from a graphic designer into a brand designer. There are so many pieces that have to fit, the messaging, the look, the feel, in order for a brand to be perceived as intended. And let's be real, if you don't have a solid process, it's very easy to spiral. You start to stare at a messy canvas and wonder if brand design is even meant for you. But trust me, it is. What you're missing is a clear roadmap to take you from zero all the way to a brand that people can't wait to show off. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. In this video, I'm going to show you my exact full process from start to finish to create a brand that's not just pretty, but totally aligned with your client's target audience. So with that being said, let's meet the client. Now we're building a brand for Melt London, a new coffee shop in London that wants to be the go-to spot for young women who live for cute lattes, TikTok trends, and working on the goals in a place that's just as aesthetic as they are. Their vision? To become the go-to spot for girl boss mornings, catch-ups with friends, and those I'm living my best life Instagram stories. So here's a quick look at every stage that we'll go through to bring this brand to life and make sure that it's something that their customers can't wait to post about. Brand strategy. This stage is the most important part of building a brand identity. The brand strategy is the foundation that determines our design decisions. We need to understand the business goals, the mission, the vision, the values, and messaging, which all stems from identifying the client's target audience. We want to tie every single design decision, from our color palette to typography selections, to be completely aligned with their audience. So here's a quick overview of the strategy that we created for Melt. Feel free to pause the video if you want to take a closer look. Now, upon creating the strategy, 2 mood boards were constructed with slightly different styles. At face value, these mood boards can be quite overwhelming for the client, so to digest it, I like to annotate my reasoning behind each decision on the mood board. If we don't do this, the client might interpret our mood board wrong and therefore decide a different direction simply due to the lack of information. Once we've completed our brand strategy document and have created our mood boards, I then upload them to the client portal that I've built inside of Notion. This is so the client can leave feedback. The client decided on mood board 2. They like the idea of a custom rounded word mark, a warm inviting colour palette, and a flash photography style capturing everyday moments. Now we're confident on our target audience and the direction of our brand, it's time to create the main identifier of the brand, which is the logo suite. We're going to create an icon, a vertically stacked word mark, a horizontal word mark, and finally a badge. We need to also determine what will be the main identifier of this brand. Will it be the icon or the word mark? And in this case, in line with our mood board, we'll be shifting our focus to create the perfect word mark, and then building the rest of the logo suite around that. Okay, so if we head back to our mood board, we're going to see that the client agreed on a rounded word mark. So ideally, we want to keep the final version as closely aligned as possible. Okay, so the first thing that I do when creating a custom logo type is head over to different font sites and look for display fonts that catch my eye. Now we're going to be completely customizing the letters using Adobe Illustrator, so we don't necessarily need to be completely satisfied with it. Instead, I like to judge the fonts as a base, knowing that we're going to further customize it later. Okay, so if you take a look at my screen right now, I've downloaded 10 different fonts, and I believe that either of these could actually work for this brand. However, what I usually do at the start of a project is only customize one of them, but then make many variants of it. So what I'm going to do here is a process of elimination, and I'm going to see which ones I don't like. So I'm immediately thinking that one should go, that one should go, that one's too playful, that one's too formal. And to be honest, looking at them, I'm kind of stuck between these top 2. Maybe this one as well. I quite like the shape there, but I think these are probably going to be a little bit too hard to customize. I think that we're going to give this middle one a go first, because I quite like the bubbly characters, quite like the thickness of it as well. But I mean, I'm going to completely go into that and customize it anyway. So we'll start with this one, we'll give it a go, and then if that doesn't work, we will go away and customize one of these. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do when customizing a font is click Command, Shift, and letter O, and that's going to create the outlines. You can also right-click here and click Create Outlines. That'll do the same thing. And this is essentially going to create it into a shape rather than a text file. So you can see here, we can edit it as a text, whereas over here now, these are shapes, and if we press A on our keyboard, we can actually manipulate these shapes as we like. So what we're going to do is use the pencil tool for this, and it's one of my favorite tools when customizing type. All you need to do is go over here, click the pencil tool, or you can click N on the keyboard, and then if we actually click our letters and then click the pencil tool again, zoom right in, if we just simply draw over the lines like this and then make sure we go back onto the line, you can see we can fully customize the type. So what I'm thinking for this is, because it's called Melt London, I'm thinking of having the text drooping down onto the lower line of text. So I'm thinking of potentially rotating the letters first. A lot of the times your designs won't look good due to spacing. So for example, because this spacing is smaller than this, that's going to look a bit weird. So what I also like to do is just try and be consistent with everything. Now I'm actually going to go through this later and make sure that things are a little bit more perfect. However, right now we're in draft mode, so it doesn't matter if things aren't right. We can always redo it eventually. There we go. So I've gone through the letters. I've actually brought this M up. And now I think we're ready to customize it. Like right now it looks awful, I understand that, but this is why we use the pencil tool to just curate it the way that we like. I'm already starting to see a love heart shape here, which could be quite cool for a word mark. I'm thinking if we can incorporate a love heart into the negative space, that's really going to be aligned with the identity. So we'll probably start with something like that. I think maybe if we just bring this out slightly, something like that could work. And then if we just droop it round a little bit, round these edges off because they're way too sharp at the moment, and go all the way around, maybe with a little bit of wonky lines along the way as well. And then what I'm thinking is actually bringing this all the way down and swooping round, dripping onto the L below it. Okay, so we've got a good start going on here. I'm happy with this M. That's pretty much the way that I want it. I'm going to go through now and customize each of the letters. I'll show you when I've finished. Okay, so I've been through, refined the letters, and here's what we've landed on. Now, I would always advise you create copies when customizing your word mark, because you might want to go back. And also, it's good to see how it's evolved as well. So you can see here, we had the normal E up until about this point, and then I tried to completely customize it, hated that, so then completely redid the E as well. I also completely redid the D and the N. The rest of the letters are pretty similar. I made them a lot thinner, but this is the final refined word mark. Now, if we take a look at the before and after, it's dramatically different. And this is why I like using the pencil tool. And also, this is where you can really add value with clients, because the last thing that you want to do is just give them a font that everybody's using or that other people can use. And instead, this is where you can really add your touch as a designer. So if you take a look at the difference here, it's dramatic. Literally just use them as a base. I've actually took a lot of weight out of this, so I probably would have been better using the different font. However, I'm still happy with how it came out, so we're going to go ahead and continue with this. Now, I still think that something feels missing. I think to really resonate with our girly target audience, we need to add a border to the logo type. Now, I don't want it to feel as corporate as places like Starbucks, and instead feel like the ultimate hidden gem coffee shop that girls have to visit and post on their Instagram stories. So I'm going to test how we can make this border. Now, my favorite way to add a border to my designs is to select all of the letters, group them together with Command and G, and then if we head to Object, Path, Offset Path, this is going to create a border. Now what we do, I think 10 probably looks about right for this. I'm quite happy with that thickness. If we click OK, head to the Shape Builder tool and draw over all of these white gaps and all of our shapes. This is going to combine everything for the background, and then we can click V and then press Command Shift open bracket, and that's going to send it to the back. So if we choose the color by pressing I and then just picking any color, you can see we now have a border. So let's just quickly invert this, because I think the letters would look nicer lighter and the background would look better darker. So yeah, we're looking pretty good so far. We still need to slightly tweak the spacing with the pencil tool, but we'll get onto that in a second. Okay, so now that we have the main logo type, it's important that we also have an icon, because the logo type won't always be legible in small use cases. You want to think app icons, favicons, even product placements. Now I'm thinking based on our logo type, we work with the M. I like the negative space love heart, and I think that could be very recognizable. So we're just going to make a copy here, and we're going to add a border as well. So for this, I'm going to go for the ellipse tool, center it in the middle, and then we're going to change that to a stroke, increase it to maybe 7, and then if we go to effect, here we go, so distort and transform, zigzag, and then if we change it to smooth, reduce the size down, this almost looks like a top of a biscuit, which I do like you'd get with your coffee. So we're just going to increase it maybe. Something like that looks good. I'm quite happy with that. And then my first thoughts are to make this a little bit bigger. I think the best way to do this would be to add a rectangle about here. We'll make a copy first, practice what you preach, and we're going to go to Object, Expand Appearance, and then we go again, Expand, click OK, and this turns the stroke into an object. And then if we grab our Shape Builder tool and hold Option down, we can actually remove the parts that we don't want. So I'm happy with that. And then it's just this bit here, so if we can make this attached like a love heart, maybe like that, and then select them all, remove this middle bit, keep the rest together, again with the Shape Builder tool, something like that. Obviously this looks like a really sorry heart right now, so I'm going to go away and try and refine this and create an icon. Okay, so here we have it, and this is why you don't want to settle on your first design, because this looks way better. I always find by focusing on exploration and adding more and more variants, you're going to land on something that you're happy with. I'm really happy with how this heart looks in the middle. The M still represents the same N from the word mark, but now we need to create a horizontal version of this word mark. So again, I'm just going to duplicate this over. I'm going to change the rotation of the letters first to make sure that they're all horizontally aligned, and then I'll be back once I've got a final result. Okay, so here we go. We have the horizontal word mark now as well, which I'm really happy with. It was quite hard to make the M look good, but I'm quite happy with how it turned out. We've still got the negative space heart in the middle. Now really quickly, this video has been brought to you by today's sponsor, Framer. Now if you still don't have a professional portfolio in 2025, you are 100% missing out on potential clients. Now Framer has a bunch of different free and paid templates available on the Framer marketplace. Simply add them to your project, change the text, change the assets to be completely aligned with your own brand, add your portfolio, and you can even host the site for free. Now if you do want to upgrade your site to a pro plan and have a custom domain, then the code Jack Watson is going to get you 25% off your first 3 months with Framer. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so I've gone and finished these logos and they're looking pretty good. You can see that with the offset path here, I've managed to sneak the love heart from the M to split up the wording, which I'm quite impressed with, if I may say so myself. But anyway, now it's time to do the colour palette. Let's take a look at our initial mood board. So now the best practice that I always like to do for this is when I actually do my mood boards, I try and pretty much nail the colour palette initially. However, I then go and make variants of it. So the clients approved this one, and I don't always stick to it exactly. However, in this case, I am quite happy with it so far. So we're just going to paste this onto a new page, and we're going to create many different variants. So I'm just going to drag it and simply just start to slightly tweak the colours, maybe make them a bit less saturated, potentially like a little bit lighter, a bit darker, maybe slightly twist the colours up a little bit as well. Just create a few different variants until I'm actually happy with a colour palette. Like I'm quite liking this green, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see what we land on anyway. I'm going to go away and experiment with these colours. Potentially create this brown a little bit darker as well. Make sure that the contrast is all good. But yeah, I'll create a colour palette right now, and then we're back once we've completed it. Okay, so here we have it. Here's our final colour palette for Melt. You can see we've slightly made things a little bit darker and also a little bit less saturated as well, just to really go into that, lean into that pastel vibe. Make it nice and warm and welcoming, and we've also swapped the pink because it was too close to our primary colour for a green, which we're also going to use for the matcha lattes that they offer. So now what we're going to do is quickly test it for contrast. We're going to create different artboards. Essentially, placing the logo onto a square like this, applying our new colour palette, and pretty much seeing if it works. Okay, so there we have it. The contrast looks good. The logos look great on the new colour palette. Now let's pick some typography. So my usual method is similar to when we were selecting the logo type. I basically pulled together a bunch of fonts that I think would look good for the primary font, aka the headings. And then through process of elimination, pretty much get rid of them. Now I've already gone and done this to save you watching me select a bunch of different fonts, because you've already watched me do that earlier. And I've actually selected the type that we selected for our logo type initially, because this also similarly aligns with the mood board as well that we selected. You see the fonts are very similar there. So we're going to go ahead and use this for our primary type. I'm going to create a bit of a type system now, go away, create some applications, and yeah, see how the identity looks together, including our photography style, which we've created using ChatGPT for prompts and Midjourney to turn them prompts into photos. So I think this really does capture the vibe that we're going for. You see the color palette as well, fits right into the photography. We've gone for harsh shadows as well, just to really naturally capture those everyday moments. And we've also gone for quite a retro theme, so I think that this primary font really does suit that well. And also we've got some dogs drinking coffees, because who doesn't love dogs, right? So with that being said, I'll go away and create some applications now. There's a few different ways that you can do this. I've actually created a digital use pack, which you'll be able to find the link in the description. That's at nonstopbrandingagency.com/templates. You'll be able to purchase my exact agency starter kit with literally every single template that I use in my own business. So you've got a proven system ready to roll out design projects and also create some applications. So with that being said, I'm going to put together a little bit of a case study for this now, just so that we can present it to the client properly. Okay, so I've gone ahead and posted this case study on Behance. I'll show you the applications that I've created. I would definitely advise that whenever you do create passion projects, go and post them on Behance, post them on Instagram, make content around them. This is what I initially did to grow my agency. It worked really well. I had one project that blew up and got about 60,000 likes. Off the back of that, I got a whole year of design work booked in. So I definitely recommend it. Still works to this day. But with that being said, let's jump into this case study. So first of all, we've just got the logo. We've got an example of how we use the typography in social media use. This is from my digital use template. You can see we've actually gone ahead and chose a secondary font as well. It looks quite close to the font Poppins, if you're familiar with that, but it's actually not the font Poppins. It's a little bit different. You can see we've got our icon in the bottom corner here. Our borders for our photography is a little bit imperfect, similar to our logo type, keeping the brand consistent. If we scroll down, we have some videos using AI photography and Midjourney's video animation feature. We've also created some icons as well, which we've got here. You can see the two fonts that we've used there. And we've actually added this little tag on using Adobe After Effects. Very simple to add something like this on. It's literally just start with 0 opacity, increase the opacity, and also slightly increase the scale as well as it fades in. Then you can see we've created some mock-ups using Midjourney and actually applied our logos using Photoshop. There's a video on my page if you want to check out how I do that. I've been loving using AI mock-ups recently. I find that they're a great way to stay extremely consistent with the brand image. Before, I would actually create some pretty god-awful mock-ups, I can't lie, using sites like Envato Elements. Now, you don't have to do that at all. Once you've got a theme, you can use that as a style reference, which can then create multiple different mock-ups. You might have to edit them. Sometimes they come with a little bit of text on, so if you learn some basic Photoshop skills, you'll be able to edit these. You can see we've got our icon here as well for the stamps, which I thought was pretty cool. Next, we have another mock-up. This was using Midjourney again. You can see we've gone for quite a glittery theme, hard shadows, and again, we've got a phone mock-up here with our logo on the front. Again, sticking to that theme, that grainy film texture as if it was shot on a Leica 35mm. We've got our different app icons here, and then here we've got how it could look on our stories, mixing our typography with our primary and secondary font. We've got our logo on there as well, how it would look on social media, and also our photography style. And then we've generated some videos using Midjourney, which I think is an amazing new addition to brand identities that we can offer. And that pretty much sums up the case study. Now the final steps will be to present the brand to the client by editing our brand presentation template, explaining the decisions behind our design choices, and also showing how the brand looks in action like this case study. Once finished, I upload it to my client portal, which I've built inside of Notion. This allows the client to leave feedback inside of there, and in an ideal world, they'll sign it off first time with no feedback, and then we can create the brand guidelines, which is essentially a how to use your new identity document. And that's it, the whole process for a brand identity from start to finish. Now, it's all good and well knowing how to build a brand identity from start to finish, but now you'll need to know how to build a brand guidelines document. So if you click this video here, you can join the 55,000 other designers who have also watched this entire breakdown. See you next week.